Hello everyone, this is the long-awaited progress update number 2, and I'm just going to rush into it. Extra info will be at the end. This is a game about cooking food for your sprouts. These little guys walking around here, technically. Um, and you use resources that you collect through a few different methods, and we'll be starting with the first, the sprouts themselves. So if you click here, it'll just spawn a bunch of them. And these sprouts, they have all sorts of emotions, which they can be affected by a lot of different things. Um, so each type of sprout has two different personalities, and depending on who's around them and what emotion they are, that sprout's emotion will be affected. So it can be angry, frustrated, sad, happy, whatever. This one is mischievous right here because if they're getting bored, like they've been the same emotion for too long and they're restless, they can perform some actions. And the gray, mischievous looking face happens when they gossip. And when a sprout performs an action, all of the sprouts surrounding it will be affected, basically. And their mood will be affected. Like if a sprout sneezes, you're not going to be happy. So they get a little bit frustrated. Um, and you can pick them up. Here, let me grab all of my tools just to showcase. You can pick them up, move them around, just to get them beside like sprouts they might like, because they're crazy little guys. They have their preferences. So you can pick them up, move them around, um, and we'll get to cooking in a sec. But when you cook food for them, you can grow them to adulthood. So basically, they're kids right now because you just spawned them. But you can feed them twice, and they'll grow to a teen, to an adult. And if they're both adults and they both like each other, they will spawn here. And this is where our first resource collection comes from. The sprouts will basically spawn, if you combine them, they'll spawn like a kid, I guess you could call it. I'm not sure what the lore is right now, but they'll wander around and they'll spawn resources for you. And so that's the first way you can get your resource. They will also spawn crafting materials. There won't be a crafting system in the game aside from cooking, but there's going to be an NPC that'll handle it for you. Um, and whenever you collect the crafting materials from the sprouts, which they'll dig up from the ground and from bushes, there'll be this guy, and he'll be awesome. He'll shout to you like, "Oi, I got something for you to make." And you can go check it out, and it can be any number of things. It could be decoration, it could be an upgrade for one of your cooking stations because you won't have all of them at the start. You'll have to unlock them. It could be an upgrade to your tools. It could be clothing. I don't know. It could be lots of stuff. And so that's what these guys around here do. And then the next place you can get resources are these things called pests. Now, pests mainly they're a stand-in for meat because the sprouts are all vegetables. They're the wheat. They're apples. They're all sorts of stuff. But there are still other food items that you need to get, like meat. So, if you watch here, they'll just come in and bug the sprouts. They'll be so annoying. They're pests. And any sprout that has a pest on it will be angry. So, you can grab your net and catch one. You can catch them off of the sprouts, and they'll get all happy again. And they're just, I think for the main sprouts, you have stuff like pork, beef, chicken, other stuff like that. Um, and then another sprout is the crab. And crabs like to bury in the sand at the beach. And they're kind of annoying. You have to be quiet when you're approaching them. Because if you just run up, they'll hide, right? So, you have to sneak up on them real quiet and bam! And then you've got yourself a crab. Um, and so for the other pests that I have planned, like I have a fish, I have shrimp, and octopus. Octopuses will skate along the top of the water, like whatever that one bug is called. Um, and fish will swim under the water. And shrimp, I think they might be like a water fly. They'll fly around above the water. And the way you catch all of these ones is there's this net item, and you basically prepare a distance in front of you. Like you hold right click and it'll go, and then you click, you let go, and then it'll toss the net over. And if it lands on a sprout, you've basically caught it. Or not a sprout, sorry. If it lands on a pest, and that'll have some crazy animations. It'll be wacky kooky. It'll be good. Um, and then we have some other resource deposits. There is the buoy, where the water tap, that gives you water. It just floats around the lake here, so if you interact with it, then you get some water. And you can turn water into ice here. Um, but this brings us to our next sort of major resource mechanic, which are these trees. These trees hold stuff like syrup, vanilla, chocolate, honey, and let me just collect them. They will generate these resources every so often, and you can come and collect them. And just so you know, all of the models are placeholders right now. Yeah, they're a bit ugly, but this is what we got for now until I make the models, which is coming after I release the alpha. Um, and so what you need to do to get honey from the honey tree is you got to fertilize it, and then it will start producing honey. And then the fertilizer will go away every so often, and you got to fertilize it again, or else it won't produce. So now that we've covered all of the resources, aside from a hidden feature for spices, I do have stuff for like sugar and spices and cinnamon, but I'm going to keep that under wraps for now. Um, but where all of these resources that you collect go are these stalls. So we got all of the like bugs that we have. Um, you got beef, pork, turkey, I think, all sorts of stuff. And then here you got the fruit, you got the vegetables, you got the grains, I just got rice for now, and then extra resources like the syrup, honey, and chocolate and stuff. And what you do with these resources that you collect is you take them to any of these resource stations. What can I use, for example? Let's just take a coconut. And you got all sorts of stations that you can do stuff at, like a toaster and oven. But let's take the processor, put a coconut in, and then each time you cook something, you get a mini game. And if you win the mini game, it gives you the resources. Otherwise, you just lose them. You fail. Um, and so yeah, you cook that food for the sprout. You give it to the sprout, whatever it wants, um, and they grow up. And that's basically the gameplay loop. So I still have to add more mini games to these. But once you've made something for the first time, like once you've manually grabbed all of the resources, brought them to each of the necessary tables, because you can cook cookies, pancakes, like all sorts of stuff, sushi, you'll get a recipe book. And in that recipe book, you'll have recipes that you've made before. It'll also be a collectopedia where you can see what sprouts you've grown, what resources you've gotten. But if you click a recipe in that book, it's gonna chain all of the necessary materials as long as you have them together, and it'll bring you through these crafting tables however you need them. It'll do it automatically, so you just bam, minigame, bam, minigame, bam, minigame. It'll just go one after the other, and then you'll get your food, and you can give it to the sprouts. Um, and that's pretty much everything that I have so far. The alpha is coming soon once I get the rest of these sprouts done. I believe. Once I get the rest of the sprouts done, that's it. Or not sprouts, pests. I don't know why I keep messing that up. And the cinnamon spices guy that I have planned. Once those are done, you'll be able to get every resource, and the game will be playable and entering alpha. And that's about it that I've got done so far. Sprouts is on hiatus right now. I'm working on some other things, but it'll be back soon, and I'll try to get it into alpha as quickly as possible. and then we'll start play testing. So if anyone wants to try it out, then that's cool. Bye.